surgeon and you are giving a talk about interlaminar. I told him that I'm doing all the technique in favor of UBE. And this talk that's I just to summarize what I did in the what the complication that I faced in the previous experience, and I summarize it in the 11 talk. These are my disclosure. And I will start my talk with this case report because this is the most disastrous case that I faced in my life. It was a simple, straightforward L5S1 disc developed after that CSF leak and then, let's say, meningitis, disturbed level of consciousness, then after that spondylodiscitis. She required 3 surgery post-op and staying in the hospital for more than 2 months, and then she recovered. So it was a month, let's say, of suffering, me and the team, and hopefully that's recovered. I was in ASICON 2019, and I catch this snapshot of codes that I started to fuse and then refuse and then refuse to fuse. I start to realize that it's time to shift to non-fusion technique in order to get rid of complication, but unfortunately, we still face this complication. I'm coming from open, then MIS, and then endoscope because when I did an open surgery, I faced disc prolapse, and my friend Sameh, he published a paper about the epidemiology of work-related neck pain. That's more than half patients, half surgeons suffering from neck pain, and I think that if you see this position, most of them that related to the open surgery. So overall complication in the interlaminar space, in the interlaminar endoscope, it's almost 2 to 6%, and these include most of common is dura tear and postoperative dysesthesia, nerve root injury, incomplete decompression, and others. And the less frequent complication that you can face is epidural or retroperitoneal hematoma, and some CNS complication that related to the food, related to the pressure fluid. And for me, let's say when I want to start the case, I have to study, let's say, in details and try to avoid in your early, let's say, experience the central disc, because when you deal with the central disc, especially with monoportal interlaminar, you will have some difficulties because most of these central disc in the upper lumbar are calcified, and the problem that you will face more retraction and more nerve injury, and also inability to remove it completely, which not give you a good sense of confident post-operatively. Second point is when you face a calcified disc, especially, it will be not uneasy to remove it, and there are some paper that published will give you advice how to remove it, and especially when dealing with monoportal, carry the risk of even injury to breakage of the instrument, not only the let's say the nerve root and the other, and you can use special let's say tool to remove it. And sometime, you know, this is a nice paper from Arvind Kulkarni, that's he just removed the lateral recess and foraminectomy in some cases, which I think that could be a good option to overcome the calcified disc in some cases. So third case to be studied is the upper lumbar disc, because these let's say discs are most of them are calcified, and also due to the narrow interlaminar space, it will be not uneasy to remove it. This is one of the cases that I shift to do it by biportal rather than monoportal in order to give me more space to remove the disc. And another criteria that's in every case that I'm started to do, because let's say take an AP X-ray, this is a Bertolotti or 4-out syndrome, because I did some cases in the beginning without taking this in my consideration, and the patient is still complaining from radiculopathy. Then after that I realized that the stenosis is due to the far-out syndrome rather than inside the disc. And finally, the foraminal is not an ideal cases for interlaminar. Choose the transforaminal approach. Don't rush in a busy day, because you know, in my early experience, when I skip to do the let's say landing, so I face injury to the dura, and keep to enter the face, and don't overdo in order just to decrease the recurrence access, because especially in the chronic disc, small bulge, central disc, you will open the annular tear more, so you face the injury. And also when you don't over traction, because especially in the upper lamina, you will face let's say post-operative dysesthesia. So in order to insert the sleeve, you can use a root retractor or even just disc punch in order to remove it. And if you face any small dural tear, just put a patch and try to finish the surgery as early as possible. While in the large tear, try to shift to let's say to open or microscopic, and don't struggle in the time. And the 8 point that about the nucleoplasty, it will be a good option for post-operative tear. I'm doing it, and this is an MRI about post-operative. These are the case that I dealt, and this is the post-operatively. And the post-operative MRI, I'm doing it after 3 months. In the early, it will be ugly. And if you face a bleeding, I think that's most of the talk about it. Try to control it by different technique that's available. And about MRI, the best time to do it's between 3 to 6 months. And once try to finish the surgery as early as possible, but don't miss the missed piece, because sometimes incomplete decompression could be an issue. So I'm using the probe in order just to search. And I think that's don't resist, because Kodak and the BlackBerry, when they resist the innovation, they drop. So the open surgery will be the same, but try to involve and decrease the level of complication. I'm sorry for being late.